giving you the real from A to Z surrounding the Dallas Cowboys. News, updates, rumors, transactions, takes, and more. So strap up, Cowboys Nation, and start your day off with A to Z Sports. Live with Will Steele.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go.
Good morning, good people. Welcome to A to Z Sports Live in the morning. We're streaming live on YouTube. And of course, I am your host, Will Skywalker Steele. Boom! Hey man, yesterday was cool. Yesterday was crazy, man. We flipping the script today. Flipping the script, we're talking about this Lions defense against the Cowboys offense and what I think it will take to cook again back home. I love the matchup. We'll talk about it. We'll dive all the way into it. Prior to that, we're going to hit the roundup. Yesterday was strange, man, and we'll talk about that in the roundup in regards to what's going on down there at the Star. And to do so, it's Thursday. Y'all know what that means. Patrick No-C Walker of DallasCowboys.com is back in the building, joining us. Last week, we couldn't do it. We had some technical difficulties. But, man, a perfect day to get him back because I got questions personally. I don't know if they matter much to you, but it matters to me. And I want to know what the hell is going on down there at the Star with some of these, some of the things I'm seeing and hearing coming out of that building. But yesterday in general, by the way, good morning, Bomb Squad.
Bomb Squad!
Yesterday in general was eventful, you know, and I can't be too long because I do want to talk about some things in the roundup. But did y'all see the Russell Wilson thing? Anybody? Y'all see the Russell Wilson thing? Man, it sounds like they're doing Russ a little dirty to me over this injury situation. I don't know. We'll talk a little bit more about it maybe in overtime, but I'll read this tweet from George Schultz. It's a mess down there, boy. I mean, whoo. Look, the NFL, I love the NFL as a viewer, but boy, if you play in the league, man, my goodness. Just started Ballers, so I'm watching Ballers and I see what happens with Russell Wilson, and I'm just kind of like, man, this is wild. What else happened? Oh, Woody, Darren Woodson, man, and, he's a finalist for the Hall of Fame, and that means a lot to me because Darren Woodson is him and Michael Irvin, both sides of the ball, are my two all-time favorite Dallas Cowboys. Darren Woodson is the reason why I wanted to play safety, why I love the position of safety, is because of Woody. He was really my first breakthrough interview, doing this whole thing 3 or so years ago. So I always have a close connection with Woody. He was the first no lie. He was the first, well, Jeff Kavanaugh was, but he was the second non-personal person I knew that I met down here in Dallas at the Star. As soon as I got down here, went to the Star, recorded some content, and Woody walks by and we get to talking. But I'm really excited to see Woody as a finalist. He deserves to be in. He should have been in before guys like John Lynch, Leroy Butler, and these folks. He needs to be in the Hall of Fame. I hope he gets that knock on the door and he gets in, man. So congratulations to Woody being a finalist. Hopefully he gets that knock that he deserves. Man, I do want to touch on this a little bit more, but I have to talk to y'all about the roundup. I just want to get at least 10 minutes of this in. Then we'll get Pat, and he'll actually further discuss what's going on down there at the Star Cowboys Nation. So let's do it.
It's time! It's time! It's time! It's time!
Time.
It's time! It is time for...
It's time for the morning roundup. Round 'em up, boys.
Let me talk to you!
Let's talk Cowboys Nation. So yesterday, I'm always reminded from time to time why I like to just fall back from Cowboys Twitter. Sometimes, it takes some things to remind you, and yesterday was one of them. A shining example why I usually stay away from it more often than not, but sometimes you get pulled in. So let's start off with the basis here. Rashaan Evans was released yesterday, and then we found out he got arrested after the fact. But here's a timeline of events of what happened yesterday. Rashaan Evans, we get the notification on the wire that Rashaan Evans has been released. The Cowboys are signing Matt Willetsko to the active roster. Okay. All right. What's going on here, right? So immediately, most of Cowboys Nation is baffled. Like, wait. And not because Rashaan Evans is a Pro Bowl player, not because Rashaan Evans an all-pro or is out here just killing or anything like that. For the mere fact, you now have one linebacker on the roster. So, half of Cowboys Nation is confused and baffled. And the other half is like, y'all overreacting. He's trash anyway. And they're missing the entire point. We're not saying Rashaan Evans, and because I'm in the part of I'm baffled here. What's going on? We're not saying that Rashaan Evans is some amazing player. All we're saying is, well, you have one linebacker. But there was a small portion that was overreacting. And there was a little small portion. But it was baffling to say the least, right? All this to say, extremism exists on these platforms, man. And to me, it's what makes me stay away. You really can't have dialogue because there's these extremes and then there's people who portray extremes on others. And you can never have a talk. That's why I say come here. I'll talk to you about it here. Can't do it on Twitter, bro. Number two, while all this is going on, breaking news, Rashaan Evans was arrested on Tuesday. So, Rashaan Evans, you're a backup linebacker. You get arrested Tuesday in Frisco, by the way, for having 2 to 4 ounces of yayo. No, he didn't have no yayo. 2 to 4 ounces of marijuana, Mary J, Mary Jane, weed, reefer, devil's lettuce, whatever you want to call it. He had it on him in Frisco. He's new around here. You can't do that in Frisco. Frisco buttoned up like a mug. Nonetheless, backup linebacker, you ain't a drafted guy. You ain't a high-profile player on the team. You ain't getting paid a lot of money. The margin of error is extremely thin. And you get caught with some weed in Frisco, 2 to 4 ounces of weed in Frisco, get arrested. You ain't helping your cause to stay on this team. So I don't think that helped at all. So Rashaan Evans gets released. But circling back to the main point here. The Cowboys have one linebacker on the active roster. Are we crazy for sitting here saying, hey, what's going on here? Now, they obviously could address it before the playoffs, but how is that not a problem? Look, man. Again, no one is saying this dude is amazing. But if one of our quote-unquote linebackers, we only have one, but say 14, Bell, ankle sprain or something crazy. What happens then? Say Damone Clark, who's already playing out of position, in my opinion. Something happens to him. What happens then? Hell, forget if something happens. What happens when you take them off the field? Let me show you what happens. Let me show you what happened in Miami. 12 personnel. Miami comes out in 12 personnel. Dallas comes out with 6 defensive backs. Look who's playing middle linebacker. What do you think happened on this play? Jaron Kearse is playing middle linebacker. Donovan Wilson is playing essentially, if you're looking at it as like a 4-3, he's playing outside linebacker, and then Damone Clark. They get an extremely positive game on this. All right, well, what if they come out in 21 personnel, Sky? Well, they did come out in 21 personnel. What did the Cowboys do? 6 DBs. What do you think happened here? Another positive run. Okay, well, what if they come out in 11 personnel, Scott? 11 personnel, you cool. You could bring all the DBs out. Wait a minute. We don't got a linebacker out there? Look who's playing linebacker. Want to guess what happened here? Tua gets in line of scrimmage. 6, 1, and 14. Oh, kill. They hand the ball off the A-chain. 65 gets to 14. The center gets to 1. Nobody gets any push. They get about 11 or 12 yard run gain here. Look, man. All I'm trying to illustrate here is nobody is trying to sit here and say the Cowboys need to have Fred Warner and Roquan Smith and all these guys back there. But damn, am I being greedy for just asking for linebackers? I mean, bro, what happened to football on our team, man? I look at the top 5 defenses, and Dallas is included in that, by the way. Top 5 defenses, San Francisco, Baltimore, I think Buffalo actually is in there in regards to points or yards, one of the two. And I look at Kansas City, and I look at their roster. They all got about 5 or 6 of them linebackers. Dallas got 1, and half the damn time he's not even playing middle linebacker. So, will this derail the Cowboys? I don't know if that's going to be the case. We will see. It just doesn't feel right to me. It doesn't add up to me, man. It doesn't add up to me. So when people are baffled at the release of Rashaan Evans, it's not because you think Rashaan Evans is an amazing player. It's because you have a linebacker issue depth-wise in particular. So we'll see. They got a couple days to address it. In a couple weeks into the playoffs to address it, because I'd imagine they're not going to go into the linebacker or into the playoffs with one linebacker. Now, they could call up Malik Jefferson, but he has to be signed to the active roster, so you got to cut somebody else. So you're still doing all this juggling. He has no more call-ups available. Another weird thing that happened yesterday. After the show yesterday, I saw somewhere online that our guy Brian Broaddus had mentioned that Mazi Smith is down to roughly 293 pounds.
What?
I didn't say that wrong. I saw somewhere that Brian said Mazi Smith was down to 293. I said, nah, that got to be a typo. That got to be a typo. So I said, shit, I'll reach out to him my damn self, because ain't no way, dog. I said, hey, Brian. Somebody said, you out here saying that Mazi. Brian called me. Hey, I'm the one who said Mazi Smith is down to 293.
What?
Hold up. Y'all got to see my face. Y'all got to see my face. So Brian goes on to say, yeah, I said that on the break. And he's asking around and obviously looking. He even asked Pat, and I'm going to talk to Pat about this. It's one of our topics here. And he said, hey, Pat, what do you think he is? And Pat says about 295. So Mazi just walking around here on this slim fast diet. Out here looking like Osa. Playing nose tackle or one tech. And we just like, what is happening? I have no explanation. I don't know. Maybe Pat can give us a little bit more explanation on this. I don't know if this is accidentally. I don't know if this is on purpose. I'm not sure. But this makes no sense. Now, here's one thing I will say. I get that rookies come in at a certain weight. They put on this weight at the combines and things like that. They put on this weight, and then they tend to lose it through the season. This happened with Jake Ferguson. If you go read one of Gelkin's articles, he talks about how Jake had to learn how to keep the weight he put on in the offseason during the regular season by changing his diet and things like that. So I'm like, all right, cool. Well, if Mazi loses 10, 15 pounds during the season, he's still 320, 315. Still a bigger, strong dude. But to lose roughly 40 pounds since the time you've been drafted and then being asked to do something that requires the weight that you had, that the reason why you were drafted, doesn't make sense to me. I don't imagine they're asking him to lose all this weight to be a 3-tech, because then you just draft a guy like Keanu Benton and you just roll him out there a 3-tech. So I got questions, man. I got questions. That's a lot of weight. I gotta use a Vach. I gotta use one of our things from Vach's show. Clarence here for Word Star Telegram. So Mazi Smith.
Okay, so then now, when does crack? Now, so the cocaine's happening. When does that crack come into play for you?
Bro, you lose 40 pounds like that. Ain't no way. It's natural. Something's going on, and I got questions. I'm curious. 335 to 293? Hey, Pat, you know, I have my little rundown of but that's one of the main questions I got to know. I got to know what's going on. Anybody got any explanations here? Tapeworm. Stress, yeah, Los. The stress can be involved for sure in regards to losing at least 10, 15, 20, 40 pounds, bro. He must not be eating. Blame the trainers. Yeah, something, man. I don't know. Like, am I tripping for thinking this is strange? I'm drafting you to play 0, nose tackle, 1-tech, things like that. And now you're down to damn near Osa size. I don't know, man. Is he vegan? I don't know if he's vegan. I don't have the answers, Sway. I don't got the answers, but we'll see if our guy Patrick No C Walker got the answers, because I got questions, sir. Let's get into the scientific method with our guy Patrick No C Walker. Good morning, my good brother.
How goes it, King?
You sound much better today, bro. Oh man, I'm so glad you're feeling good, Pat.
Oh yeah, I'm solid. I'm solid now, man.
Boy,
Pat,
Pat,
it tried to take me out the game, but no, it's none of that.
Boy, you called in last week. It was like, hey man, we good to go. I said, oh Pat, nah, bro. I said, Pat, we can't do that to you, man.
I played through it.
You fought through it, bro.
Me on IR.
Yeah, they didn't keep you on IR. Not at all, bro. But good morning to you, man. Appreciate you for coming back through. I got lots of questions for you, Pat. We were just kind of joking a little bit about one particular one. But before we get into that, you just mentioned IR. Can you kind of give us a rundown on the Cowboys practice report?
Yeah, absolutely. Couple changes, one positive, one not so much. But we'll start with the three headliners technically. So Jonathan Hankins and Tyron Smith obviously both missed last week. Hankins, that was his second consecutive miss with the high ankle sprain, and he's working his way back. But, I like what I'm hearing from Mike McCarthy and Jerry Jones, and they sound at least 51-49 as far as the odds are, as far as optimism is concerned. I am not so optimistic. If I were a betting man, and I'm not, but if I were, I would bet that Jonathan Hankins doesn't play in this game. And the reason I say that is because they feel, rightfully so, that they're trying to balance staving off a 3-game losing streak with not exacerbating an issue on your primary run stopper who's having a great season and you need him in the playoffs. So they're trying to, walk that line when it comes to Jonathan Hankins. And again, I like what I hear Jerry and Mike saying, but I don't necessarily see it happening. Now, if he does, it'll be a pleasant surprise to me. He's not been ruled out or anything. We'll see what today's injury report looks like. Also for Tyron Smith, a little bit more optimism when it comes to Tyron Smith, but not as far as the injury report itself goes, because he was DNP, which did not participate both yesterday and the day before. So he's not started taking any team work. But I will also say, keep in mind, he's on, quote-unquote, the plan anyway, so he's not going to practice. So the injury report could be a little bit deceptive when it comes to Tyron Smith in that capacity. It does sound like the team has more optimism that Tyron will take the field. We spoke with Tyron earlier this week, and he said that he just needed the back to, quote-unquote, calm down, and he said it now has. He said it's not a stinger. It was just like back tightness, and they needed to work through it. And it sounds like it's mostly, if not completely, worked through. I have much more optimism on Tyron based on what he said and what McCarthy and some of the people around the building are saying. I would put Tyron at nothing too high. Let's just say 60-40. Maybe he plays. If it comes to Jonathan Hankins, I'm kind of like 40-60. But we'll see how that goes. Rico Dowdle, he was downgraded. He only had 2 touches, or I should say 2 handoffs last week against the Dolphins, 4 yards. I think that ankle is really starting to bother him. That's why they elevated Malik Davis twice in a row. So you'll probably see Malik Davis with his 3rd and final elevation of the season coming up this weekend. I wonder if they just go ahead and make Rico inactive to make sure that he gets right for the playoffs. Stephon Gilmore suffered what he told us was a rib injury. I know some people thought it was an arm, but he said it was a rib injury. On Sunday night, he said he was fine. The next morning, that's basically what was echoed around the building. Stephon Gilmore is going to play against the Dolphins. And the others, you have Malik Hooker. He's progressing with his ankle injury. He went from limited to full. Hunter Lipke had a thigh issue, went from limited to full, also had a fumble issue. Hopefully that's going from limited to full. And then you got the transaction that lit the world on fire yesterday that I know you were talking about before I tapped in.
I mean,
the transaction of all transactions, apparently.
I think it's hilarious, man. We get into these civil wars. This is why Dallas is America's team. Nobody does this over a backup linebacker. But Rashaan Evans
100% looked like, it looked like it was Captain America and Bucky versus Iron Man and Spider-Man at the airport, right? It was like full-blown Black Panther going against Scarlet Witch. Like, I'm like, what is going on here?
Then out of nowhere, Spider-Man comes in with breaking news.
That's what I'm saying, out of nowhere. Snatch the shield and, All right, so linebacker Rashaan Evans was released/waived. He's subject to waivers. We'll find out by 3 p.m. today if any of the other 31 teams claimed him. If not, he'll be an unrestricted free agent. He can sign with whomever he wants, which also includes maybe tapping back into the Cowboys practice squad, although I don't know if that's going to happen. To replace his spot, they activated Matt Waletzko from IR with his shoulder injury. Now, here's where I am on this. Just go ahead and jump right into this. Here's where I am on this. I 100% understand, after seeing Chuma Edoga miss assignments on Bradley Chubb, of all people. I understand how that completely disrupted your offense, and that's a large reason as far as the pressure that Dak suffered, because it was almost 45% of his dropbacks he was pressured. That's you can't have that. So I understand why Waletzko is back. I get it, 100%. As far as why Rashaan Evans is the sacrificial lamb, I know some are pointing to his arrest for marijuana possession. I'm not subscribing to that. And I say that because I've seen other players suffer worse accusations and stick around. Now, could that have gone into the thought process, and maybe they had already made a decision that Evans was going to be gone, and that particular criminal allegation was like, okay, well, if he's going to have that as well, then
it doesn't help.
Super goodbye, right? But as far as an analyst's eye, was he as good as what they wanted him to be? No. Can they afford to cut into their linebacker depth, though? No. Mm-hmm. Did he flash at times and show that maybe with more reps that he could possibly at least be on the right trajectory? Yes. So I'm of the mindset that I don't understand why you would cut into the depth. I'm 100% on that. I don't get that. Like, I'm against that. I feel like there's, someone else that you could have pegged as the 53rd guy versus cutting into your linebacker depth. Because right now you have Damone Clark. That's your only true linebacker on the active roster. And hold your horses. You got Buddy Johnson on the practice squad. all right? But unless Buddy Johnson is Bobby Wagner reincarnate, you're kind of in trouble with depth there. So I can't say that I necessarily co-sign the move because I don't. I see why Waletzko was brought up, but as far as shipping Evans out, was he great? No. Was he terrible? No. So that in and of itself gives me enough reason to say, well, we need depth, and he's par or slightly above, and so keep him around. So yeah, I'm right there with you. I don't really know what the true reason was. I don't think it was the marijuana possession, because please spare me that. But yeah, so here we are, and the Civil War commenced. And on one side, ladies and gentlemen, you got everybody saying that this guy was Fred Warner,
right?
And on the other end, you got everybody saying this guy was Bobby Carpenter. So
it's like, why can't we have this healthy the conversation of, hey, he's neither, but we don't have the depth to take that risk.
That's exactly where I am. That's exactly where I am.
Yeah, man. So I mean,
no more, no less.
If you had to guess, Pat, do you think, because the Cowboys, I think they did this, I don't know if it was last year. I think one of the playoff years they signed somebody heading to the playoffs. But do you think they'll address it, though, heading in? I just have a hard time thinking you're going to go in here with literally one linebacker on the active roster. And if I'm not mistaken, please correct me if I'm wrong, but if they were to call up Malik, they would then have to cut somebody else because he's out of call-ups, correct?
That is correct. You cannot call Malik Jefferson up again until the playoffs when the clock resets. So calling him up again does, send someone out the door, and then that brings you right back to this question. Well, why don't you send a linebacker out to bring up a linebacker to send someone else out for a linebacker? So kind of a weird situation. But to answer your question, I think that they are scanning the free agency market, but also practice squad players. And I can't mention which practice squad players I'm thinking about because then I get hit with tampering. But there are a couple names out there that the Cowboys could look to poach, over the next couple of weeks before they get into the playoffs, in which case they won't be able to at all. Not for teams that are not in the race anyway. But, yeah, I know for a fact there are a couple that they have their eye on. But for me, you need to win these last two games. Yeah. If only for momentum purposes. You don't want to back into the playoffs. And to that point, still, I don't think that you could have afforded to cut into your linebacker depth. I think you definitely needed it against Detroit. And if you go back and you look at and kudos on the Cowboys defense for being greatly improved against the run, especially in the absence of Hankins. But if you go back and look at Buffalo, where they were wildly horrific against the run defense and James Cook, one of their only two good run defenders was Rashaan Evans. The other was DeMarcus Lawrence. Rashaan Evans only had 11 snaps against the run, but he had a couple of run stuffs, and so he was efficient when he was out there against the run. So that goes back to what I was saying as far as he showed flashes of being on the right trajectory, but apparently, they were just like, that's not gonna cut it. And he did a lot of special teams work as well. Yeah. I mean, 73% of his snaps were special teams, so that makes me wonder if Bones didn't stand on the table for him. And if Bones didn't stand on the table for him, then yeah.
Well, we've got a theory over here, and I don't even think it's that crazy, but Dallas obviously puts more premium into their guys. Meaning, were you drafted? Do we invest a lot into you money wise? Are you one of our guys? Yeah. If we're being honest, Rashaan Evans is not one of their guys. So,
no, 100%.
Yeah.
No, Marquise Bell is one of their guys. Mm-hmm. He's a drafted guy.
Well,
Clark, that's one of their guys. He's a drafted guy. Well, let's go, obviously, and I'm going to leave it here because I'm left to wonder if Let's Go isn't ready or if his 21-day practice window isn't approaching the end, because timing is everything as well. As we approach the end, past tense, the end of Let's Go's 21-day practice window, and the decision had to be made on him, what happens, 1 or 2 days before that time marker comes due is you see Chuma Edoga basically just matadoring Bradley Chubb onto Dak Prescott. So I think it could have been just as simple as, let's stop overthinking. It could have been as simple as that put the Cowboys kind of in a panic mode to say, yeah, you know what, we cannot let Let's Go remain on IR with Chuma looking like this, because if Chuma does this in the playoffs, we're one and done. In the event Tyron can't play, and they're still trying to figure out when Tyron can get back, maybe as early as this week, maybe not. So too much flux there. I get it. The only thing I don't get is why you send a linebacker away. for that. So, but that's where we are. Rashaan Evans, not Bobby Carpenter, but not Fred Warner, and we move.
Well, somebody else that's been doing some cutting down apparently down there, man. Mazi Smith. On your show, Cowboys Break, DallasCowboys.com, Brian had mentioned that Mazi was sub 300, and I believe he asked you what you thought Mazi Smith weighed prior to him giving his answer, and you mentioned, again, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but this is what I was told, like 295, and
I said 290. 290.
I mean, with no 290, just that's how he looks, which means it makes sense that he's kind of getting pushed around a bit playing nose tackle out there. But what happened? Like, what's going on? That's a lot of weight to lose, Pat.
Yeah, it's roughly 40 pounds difference from when they picked him out of Michigan. So here's my running theory, because Amber made an excellent point yesterday on the show, in that this cannot possibly be of any surprise to the Cowboys staff, because if it were, he would be fined every time he doesn't hit weight, right? So every time he steps on that scale and he's not at the weight they want him to be at, they would fine him every single time. But he's not been fined a single time. So then that leads me to go back to training camp. And in training camp, and you saw it yourself with your own two eyes, we were expecting Mazi Smith to come in and start challenging Jonathan Hankins for that one tech, right? But we saw, more often than not, we saw packages with them playing side by side, and Mazi was the 3. So we didn't think twice of it at that time, other than to say, oh, this is exciting. We might get Mazi on the field with Jonathan Hankins. This might be some great potential. Okay, well, fast forward, and now he weighs as much as a prototypical 3 tech, around 290 to 295. I mean, he's right there with Neville Gallimore, Oso Odigizua, Chauncey Golston. So it makes me wonder if the Cowboys this entire time so far had been kind of grooming him for more reps at 3 tech because they saw how well Jonathan Hankins was playing at 1 tech. My only problem with that is you didn't guard against injury. And maybe you thought Carl Davis was guarding against injury by signing him in late November. He goes out there, he did not play well at all. So let's not even talk about Carl Davis. So absent Hankins, now you have a 290, 295 Mazi versus a 330 Mazi. That's not a 0 or a 1. That's too much mass that's been given up. So now, as we have this conversation, really he's a 2 or a 3 tech, and that can be problematic for when you need him to be that big body nose tackle, but he doesn't have the big body. Now the strength is still there, but the weight is not there. He's not eating up double teams like Jonathan Hankins, or that he would have at 330. So, and
Pat, I question if that was their thought process, right? Then you don't take a guy who wasn't traditionally a 3 tech at Michigan to then make him lose all that weight to play 3 tech when you have multiple 3 techs like Keanu Benton and Brian Breesy on the board that you can take that play that position better than Mazi. So I am just so confused at how losing, if they really did say, hey, we need you to do this for moving forward purposes, why would you do that when there's others on the board, number one? And number two, I mean, let's be honest here. I mean, he's never going to be a better 3 tech than Osa. Like, Osa is that guy for you. So it's just really confusing.
No. Osa is no better way to put it. This is not saying he's Aaron Donald, but Osa is your Aaron Donald when it comes to what he can do from inside the defensive line. But I mean, when it comes to Mazi, I think and I harken back to, I mentioned on the show as well, Tyrone Crawford, right? During the Tyrone Crawford era, they pop him inside and they make him bulk up, and then they slide him outside and they make him slim down, and they did that several times. And hopefully this isn't the situation with Mazi, but again, maybe they figured, because I think the signs were there as well. Maybe we didn't necessarily put too much stock into it, but when you hear Dan Quinn say things like, and Mike McCarthy and Will McClay say things like, we want to unlock Mazi's pass rush ability. We don't believe Michigan gave the rush the passer. And then you also saw things like they were tweaking his stance, which negatively impacted his get off as he tries to kind of acclimate to that. But you're tweaking the stance. You mentioned that you want to unlock his pass rush ability, and now he's down 40 pounds. Doesn't that sound like he's being groomed for a 3? So we'll see what year 2 looks like, but I think year 1 is what it is. At this point, it is what it is. He's roughly 290, 295, and he's not going to gain 40 pounds in the next 2 weeks. That's not going to happen. So this is what Mazi is. Hopefully that situation kind of works out well over the course of the next several weeks. And I'll say several because I don't want it to just be like 3 weeks. So outside of that, for Mazi Smith, look for year 2. It'll be interesting because Hankins was a 1-year re-up. Let's see how they approach Hankins in the offseason if he's back on a 1-year, 2-year. And I think that's going to, force their hand on Mazi to say, okay, well, we really need you to be that definitive big body run stopper. So go ahead and put that 40 back on. It's an interesting situation, but it's still question marks. And we don't really have the answers. We'll just have to see how it plays out.
I want to sit here and talk more, but I know you got to get going here soon. But can you give us a preview? It is Thursday, y'all. So you know what that means on .com for Pat Nosey Walker.
Yeah.
Can you give us a preview of the Science Lab?
Yeah, real quick. Cowboys, DallasCowboys.com. Check out the mothership. Should be dropping at 10 a.m. Central Time, no later than 11 a.m. Central Time. And I break down the importance of the Cowboys winning these last 2 games. There's several reasons why they should, but there's one most prevalent, and it has nothing to do with playoff seeding. Playoff seeding is on the table, but that is not why that is one reason I want the Cowboys to win out. Hopefully the Eagles lose, but that's not my number one priority as to why. It's because they cannot afford to back into the playoffs, and there's a situation or two that I cite as an example as to what happens when you back into the playoffs versus when you don't back into the playoffs after having a tough stretch in November, December. So anyway, check it out. It's a good breakdown. Hope you guys enjoy it, and let it lead you into Saturday against the Lions.
My guy, Patrick Nosey Walker. Appreciate you joining us, bro. I'm glad you're feeling better, and we'll wrap next week, man.
Absolutely, brother. Talk to you soon.
That's Patrick Nosey Walker. Very interesting conversation there on both fronts of the Rashaan Evans and Mazi Smith situation. I still got so many thoughts about that. But I'll hold them because I know we got to get to breaking down this Cowboys matchup, and we're going to do that here in a second. Y'all know how we do. After the scientific method, we'll take a quick little break, get your drink, pretend like you're doing some work, buy you an extra hour at work if you are at work, because I know it's still the holiday. Some people are still on vacation. But we are not. We're here. So let's take a quick little break, come back, and we'll talk about this Cowboys offense against the Lions defense.
You're listening to A to Z Sports.
Do it live!
At some point, hoping to broadcast
In front of the millions
of Cowboys fans to bring you the real. But for now, strap up and here's your host, Skywalker Steele.
I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you.
We'll do it live.
Oh, man. Welcome back, Cowboys Nation. I'm cracking up because, come on, there we go. I'm sorry, man. Like, you draft Mazi Smith to be Professor Clump. I'll give it up soon, but I don't get it. What they done gave him clumps? I shouldn't be laughing like that. What if he going through something, y'all? What if something's going on? All right, man. I'm sorry. Let's focus. They gave him the blue drink. Sherman. My favorite part, when the grandma be like, "No, Cletus, come on, Cletus. No, get up, come on over here." Good Lord. What are we doing down there? I'm sorry. Slim Slow. Buddy Love. I need some more answers. Ain't enough for me. I promise you, brother, I'm not. I promise you, man. You know? Because look, I'm rooting for him to be big. We were all rooting for you to be a big, fat one tech. Mazi says, that tight end money looking nice. That tight end money looking sweet. I had to switch positions. All right, man. They ain't gonna cancel me, G. Let's switch. Let's talk about this Cowboys offense against this. Look, I like this matchup. I like this matchup a lot. A whole lot, by the way. Defensive coordinator we should be familiar with. Aaron Glenn. Just played for the Cowboys. He turned it around. Look, I remember going into the Lions game. They came out of their bye week, and when I was studying the game last year against them, right? I'm listening to hey, we're making wholesale changes. We're doing all this different stuff, right? And they have been terrible, like historically bad prior to the bye week. And I'm like, I don't know, something weird, man. I feel like they're going to come out in this game and they're not going to be a historically bad defense. And boom, the Cowboys are going to be in a fight. And what happened? They did those wholesale changes and they made things tough for the Cowboys for 3 quarters. And then right from there on, I don't think they lost a game for the rest of the regular season. Something crazy like that. However, this year, this is a more buttoned up group, a group that's sure of themselves, and they do certain things well, and they do some things that aren't great. One of the things that they do, they are a team that is going to be them. I don't think they're going to change up their stripes, much like the Cowboys, and they are a very heavy single high man team, which bodes well for the Cowboys, especially at the crib, right? Because at the crib, the Cowboys play better whether it's zone or man, but teams have been playing a lot of zone against Cowboys all year, not just the last 2 weeks. If you go look at it historically over this whole entire season, teams play an extremely high number of snaps in zone coverage against the Cowboys. You just happen to play 2 of the best ones the last 2 weeks. This is not this team. This team is going to play a lot of man. They're going to play a lot of single high because they like to stack the box. They play one high shell, the 9th most in the National Football League, and they stack the box the 4th most. Single high 9th, stack the box 4th. Well, how good are they against the run? Pretty damn good. Pretty damn good. In fact, because they're so good against the run, they are susceptible in the pass. 24th in yards per pass attempt, 25th in average points per drive scored. So you can score on this team. Obviously, they're 24th in scoring defense. Now, they will do some too high stuff in pass plays. Most teams tend to do that, depending on the down and distance. And if they get you in 3rd and long, yeah, they'll drop back to 2 safeties. But I don't think this is going to be anything remotely close to how Buffalo and Miami played you. And if they try it that way, I don't think they have the defensive backs. I don't think that's their scheme. Their scheme is we want to stop the run. We're going to be aggressive at stopping the run and put you in long situations so that Aiden Hutchinson and our blitz packages can get home. Now, they got really good run-stopping linebackers. They have a really good run-stopping group. I actually like Anzalone, Jack Campbell. We talked about him a lot here, me and Foots, on our show when we broke down the linebackers last year. Rodriguez, they have a really good unit. They can clog up lanes, and I think they play downhill aggressively and on a string. But because they play the run with such vigor, play action is key, y'all. It's key. You saw that give them a ton of trouble early in that Minnesota Vikings game. They won 3 straight plays, play action, and got down to the 20-yard line in 3 plays. And then they pretty much struggled throughout that game. They struggled throughout that game with play action. And the funny thing about that game, it's the perfect game to illustrate. That's not the play. No, we don't want that. It's the perfect game to illustrate that you don't have to be some amazing running team to be successful in play action. You don't. The Vikings didn't run that ball well at all. They averaged 1.5 yards per reception. 1.5 yards per carry. My bad. 1.5 yards per carry, and they only ran the ball 11 times. But when they were running play action, specifically under center, hell, even just showing the RPO type of look, they are taught. You can tell the Lions linebackers are taught, just go downhill. We'll deal with what happens after that. Get downhill in a hurry. 11 attempts, 1.5 yards per carry, and the Vikings pretty much tore them up in play action all night. Now, even when they didn't do play action, there was times that there were things there because they aren't a cover team. They just aren't. They're a team that wants to stop the run, and they'll deal with the rest of after that. They can get after the passer, right? They got, again, Aiden Hutchinson. Really like Aiden Hutchinson, by the way. People were questioning him coming out of Michigan, but dude is a 5-tool defensive end. Made in the lab, can set the edge, get after the passer, has moves, got a toolbox. Really elite edge rusher. And if they don't give help to Terrence Steele on that side, and God forbid Chuma Adoga's out there, we could be in trouble in that sense. But I said this yesterday, I'll say it again. I've seen Dak Prescott do well against pressure. My man was sacked 3 times in one series against the Rams, and went out there and torched them. So, as long as Dak isn't getting sacked, fumbled like he did against Philly, I always feel like Forrest back there, they can't sack you every play. They can't press you every single play, even if it's 45% again, which I hope it's not. I think Dak can have a lot of success passing against this team. I don't think they can cover on the back end as well as these other teams. I just don't. But I'll go back to what I said at the top of this. I think it's going to be paramount to use play action and movement. Now we're back home, right? The motion needs to be back in. We need to be seeing 65, 70% because, boy, when you do motion on this team, it trips them up a bit. When you do play action on this team, it trips them up. Get back to doing what you do well because they don't defend that well at all. Not lying, Cowboys Nation. Let's jump into the film room real quick. I do want to show you guys some plays that illustrate this. This is, again, a couple of these plays are just on the opening drive. You got pre-snap motion. Here's the play action. I mean, look at these linebackers. They're all downhill. Everybody's downhill, and he just slips right out, wide open. All right, well, that's the first play of the game, Scott. I mean, things happen, right? Sure. Second play of the game. Pre-snap motion. Watch the play action. Look where everybody's going. They do not care. They are an aggressive downhill team. And it could bite them in the ass. And it did in this game. It's just that Nick Mullins is Nick Mullins. But he still threw for 400 on him. Once again. Now, this play action is subtle. It's a subtle play action here, but it helps. He's going to peek in. Got the play action. Wide open. It's a long handoff right there. Now, this is where I hope we see a little bit of Jake Ferguson because, again, I don't think this is a cover team. Damn sure these linebackers are not covering linebackers. He's just going to run an out and up and hit that kind of seam route here. Out, up. It's a good throw. Good catch. Unfortunately, Hawkinson was out for the season after that catch. Again, we got movement. What do you think is coming up here? Play action. Look what the play action does. Whoop. Now he's wide open, right? Now I get one-on-one. Protection holds up. I'm just confident against this defense as long as you run what? Play action. Now there's what I love about this one. Again, movement. We're going to get, I think this was Osborne. Osborne's going to motion inside. He's going to kind of pitter-patter around here, then boom. He's going to take a hit out here, and the play action, watch what it does in number 30. Whew. He's dead. He's done. Play action, man. Movement, play action against this team is just money. Once again, downhill. They're an aggressive downhill team. Leaves this guy wide open in the flat. And what bothered me about, look, I'm a Minnesota Viking fan, but if I was a Minnesota Viking fan, what would have bothered me was, hey, man, just don't get bored with profit here. Get under center or run some RPOs, play action, whatever. You're going to matriculate down the field. Now, this is a play I thought was hilarious because they stole this play from the Lions. San Fran stole it from the Lions and used it on the Cowboys. Talk about poetic justice. I would love if they stole this play against the Lions at the crib. Y'all remember this? You should be embedded in your head. It was a touchdown play to George Kittle. Earlier in that day, the Lions did that play, I think against the Packers or somebody, and scored a touchdown. And then the San Francisco 49ers used that same thing against Dallas. So I'm not lying here, man, when I say play action, movement, motion, all these things against this Lions defense is money. All of those things we do at home. So I expect the Cowboys to be able to, this is the 24th ranked scoring defense. I expect them to hold them to it, right? I expect them to hold them to. The Cowboys should easily be scoring at least 24 or more points in this game. If the Cowboys are going to lose this game, it's going to be because it's a shootout. We talked about this on Vacha's show yesterday. I hope it's not a Seattle Seahawks game. But if it gets to that point, if there's going to be a type of game, it's going to be that type of game, not what you saw in Miami. Now, we talked about the Lions offense yesterday, and we'll discuss both sides a little bit more with Okoye. I still don't think they'll score 35 plus on this team, right? And the only reason why I know it sounds crazy, right? After the whole run game situation, although for most of the game, Dallas did okay last week. But if you do load up and stop this run game, I feel wonderful about going after Jared Goff. In that game against Seattle, first of all, Geno's a little bit more mobile, number one. Number two, his release was a lot more quick. He was getting the ball out at a career high rate. He just was getting the ball out. Jared Goff ain't doing it. Jared Goff's not doing that. There's not off-script plays for Jared Goff. Geno can make those. Jared Goff is very similar to what we saw in Miami, what we see against San Francisco. We want things created pre-snap, so Jared doesn't have to do nothing after the snap. But 1, 2, 3, maybe a hitch, and the plays already created. You get him off his spot, man. Totally different quarterback. But if you let him go 1, 2, 3, get rid of it, or 1, 2, 3, hitch, get rid of it. Now you better rally and tackle. You better be covering good on the back end. So I don't expect it to be some high octane game from them. But if it's going to be any style of game, it's not going to be I don't think personally a 20-14 game. I think it'd be more of the burner type of game. But let's hope it's not. Let's hope Dallas goes out there and do what they do with Jimmy Johnson getting enshrined, with CeeDee Lamb likely breaking the all-time Cowboys reception record at the crib. Let's go out there and whoop their ass, You're not going to get a home field advantage or anything. Granted, it's still there, but end the year at the crib on a high note. No need to stress this one, I think, at the crib. Now, that doesn't mean it won't be a stressful game because that's a good Detroit Lions team. But go out there and play your game at home, and you should be fine. It should be fine. All right, that's my breakdown of the defense. I try to keep it as simple as possible. Tomorrow, I think Okoye, he'll dive into it a little bit more. My bad, I forgot to put the number up there. If y'all want to call in, we'll get a couple calls before we get out of here. No long show today, but 351-999-3787. Let's get into the chat, though. Golf likes play action a lot. Yeah, they run play action. Did I have that in there yesterday? I think they were a top 5 team in my notes. Let me see if I can find my notes. I want to say they were like 4th or something like that. But they are a high octane play action team because they run the ball well, right? Number 3 overall in the league in rush yards. And I think we talked about this yesterday. They mirror their run game to their pass game, and not just in the sense of Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, Mike McDaniel. Like everybody does that, right? But no, this is legit because they actually run the ball a lot and they run it well and they got a good offensive line. So when you see that run action, it might not be a run. It might literally just be run action. Next thing you know, it's pulling the ball up, got a crosser, possibly a deep route, something like that. So guys got to be disciplined on this one for sure. Oop, my bad, bro. All right, here we go. All right, let's wrap the Splendid Poppy real quick, man. What's good, brother?
You got me coughing, dog. Shit. You got me too early in here.
What's up with you, man?
My bad. Now, I had a quick theory on the Mazi thing. What if you slimming up to be fast and be part of Dan Quinn's defense with pretty much what's it called? Pass defending, going in and pretty much being like the rest of the defense because he has the power. He's strong as fuck, So I don't see an issue on that. I see an issue on the weight-wise, on getting moved. But if you can get his technique right, get lower, explode, and pop him, shit, I think we got something there. But that's to be determined.
Yeah. I mean, I think 293 is a bit egregious, though. Like, that's a lot of weight to lose. And, you know, you can lose as much weight as you want. If you – quickness, I don't necessarily think has to do with your weight. Like, if you watch Neville, if you watch Hankins, their get-off – these guys are 300-plus pounds. Their get-off is much faster than Mazi Smith. I don't really think you need to be, you know, sub 300 to show initial quickness or get-off. But your theory could be a sense of, hey, lose some weight so that I can be more of a pass rushing defensive tackle because that's what we do here. But I thought they drafted him to essentially take over for Hankins, maybe not this year, but, you know, moving forward. And if you look at how Hankins has played, he's had years in his career where he's affected the passer. And even this year he's affected the passer. And if you look at a guy like Dexter Lawrence, at some point those type of guys will develop into that. But I think trying to rush it in year one might be too much, doing too much there. Yeah.
It is. That's what I'm trying to figure out what's going on here, like how y'all are, and I'm just trying to find a green light out of it, man, out of the tunnel, because it's iffy. I don't see why there would, you know, I'm the same way as you. I had the same expression in the same face. I was like, damn, there's no way, you know. I'd rather have him bulking up and get solid with his strength so they don't move him, you know, and with his strength be able to move them. Hey, man, I'd rather him just be a wall where nothing moves than for him to get pushed back. But, yeah, I'll let you finish that one, Sky. Hope y'all have a great day, and sucks, man. Saturday was my 30th birthday, and all I wanted was a Cowboys win over the Dolphins because my brother-in-law is a Dolphins fan, and he got this one on us. But it's all right. I told him they ain't gonna go far.
Unless we meet up with them in the Super Bowl, he gonna be talking shit for 4 years, bro. You know that, right? We're not playing them again for 4 more years.
Yeah, but no, he's not a delusional fan like how other people are. He knows what's right and what's wrong. He knew that we should have had that one. It is what it is. You already know.
Yeah.
I'll let you go, brother.
I appreciate
it, man. You have a good one.
Yes, sir. Salute. Yeah, man. The Mazi thing is strange to me. It's strange because if you wanted a 3-tech, if you wanted a guy to pass or something, you had 2 options. You had Brian Breesy and you had Keanu Benton. What was the point of drafting Mazi Smith and saying, hey, we need you to lose 40 pounds? That's why that doesn't add up. That doesn't add up at all. That's not what he did well at Michigan. And expecting a nose tackle to come in year one and all of a sudden be a pass rushy guy off the bat like that. He needed to be a run stoppy guy that can do some pass rush things. Get me a sack or 2, right? Yeah, sack or 2, get some pressures here and there, but we need you to be the run stop guy. Doesn't add up to me, man. Oh, yeah, we're going to lock these. We got some heavy hitters. One of them, man, I got boss Cowboy joining us, man. What's good with you, boss?
What's happening, OG?
What's good, man? How you feeling?
Good. I sound okay because I'm on Bluetooth driving.
Oh, that's right. Boss is an old head, so he got the Bluetooth. What'd you say now, Chuck?
No. I'm saying I got it coming through my car.
I'm messing with you, bro.
So, yeah, you old school sitting around there with the big old flip phone.
What's on your mind, fam?
Man, I think I got the riddle, bro. I do.
Please,
I think I figured it out.
Please, because this is so confusing.
Yeah, and it came from listening to Patrick, right? Because Patrick said something that was key. He said this is obviously not accidental because they would have found him if he would have been losing weight like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's by design, which then fits Dan Quinn. Because Dan Quinn, you said this before, I've said this before, he's a mad scientist. And he has a vision for these guys when he get them. So I remember one time when we got Bell, and he said I can envision him as a linebacker, I laughed at it. You laughed at it. But he was dead ass serious, you know? So, and he morphed him into a linebacker because he obviously put on weight to make him fit the vision in which he saw him when he got him, you know? So, and when I think about it, it's actually smart because I know Vach has coined the term peanut butter weight, and I coined the term steak and potatoes, we both saying the same thing, that it take a little while for these guys to put on that weight and that mass and get that grown man body to really truly be an effective one tech. So if you're trying to get the best value out of your first rounder and try to get impact this year, it makes sense when I feed it to what Patrick said, where they was talking about we want to try to get the pass rush out of him. We want to get that first step. So in their minds, they thinking if we try to make him effective one tech now, he really not, because he not going to have the peanut butter or the steak and potatoes. So let's try to get instant impact by slimming him down, working on his first step, and then we can probably get some instant impact out of him this year. It's a little bit like backwards, but it sounds like Dan Quinn, because it's also something that they did with Neville, right? Neville came in as the ideal 3-tech, and what did they do? When he got injured, they put that weight on him and said, we're going to try to make you a 1-tech. So all of this kind of stuff is kind of like, it feels like it's Dan Quinn with his mad scientist hat on.
If I may, on the Neville Gallimore thing, if I remember correctly, this is 2020 though. Injuries has set for the Cowboys on the defensive line from Neville, and Neville kind of got thrown in the fire, and he had a pretty solid year. And
one game.
Yeah, you know, for a rookie, you know, he put on some good tape. Let's just say that for a rookie. Second year, you know, they went out and they brought in Dan Quinn. He brought in his guys like Brent Urban and whatnot, some dudes to kind of switch it up. Third year, they asked Neville to put on some weight, and he did put on some weight to beef up a little bit. But we already had Bohanna in town and Hank. Well, we eventually got Hankins, but we needed some more beef, so they did that. In this case, I don't get it, because you don't need more 3-techs. If you wanted to draft the 3-tech, draft the 3-tech. So that's why I don't understand it. Like, you took a nose tackle. What's easier? Taking a guy that might be 305 and saying put on 10 pounds to be stronger, or taking a guy that's 335 and telling him to lose 40 pounds to do something he has not naturally done his entire career at that spot, at that place in Michigan. And you had the opportunity to take the other guy in a Brian Breesy or a Keanu Benton, who was already fantastic 3-techs. So that just doesn't make sense. Maybe that's the reason they're doing it. They're trying to say, hey, we'll take Mazi, slim him up and play 3, or play more, you know, be more quick. But then you could have took the guy to get that initial year one impact to do what you're asking Mazi to do right now, which, like you said, seems to me is hustling backwards.
Yeah, and I guess that would come down to the scouting team's belief in their ability to be able to get this done and his ability to do it, you know? So if from some kind of way they was able to look at him and say, we can envision him doing that, but he gonna be a super strong 3-tech, right? Which would be different.
Yeah.
So, you know, where it's like, yeah, he a 3-tech, but he got just super strength. That's the only thing I can see about it, because I only had one guy that I've actually watched go through this. I played with a guy at U of H. His name was Grover. So when he first got to the University of Houston, he was a defensive end. He was 290, right? So then they said, all right, we need to figure out what to do with you because you're not a defensive end. They moved him to tackle, so he went up to 310. Then they said, man, we can see you playing tight end. And so, but it worked. Crazy, it worked. He lost 60 pounds, right, in an off season, which is crazy, bro. And see, he one of my good friends, so I know what he had to do. He was literally only eating every day Raisin Bran and crackers. So
we went through this here with Terrence Crawford, or not Terrence Crawford. Now I'm having a brain fart with Tyrone Crawford. Remember that? I mean, it seemed like every year they asked Tyrone Crawford to put on weight or lose weight. Okay, this year you're a left defense end. Well, next year you're a right defense end. Well, now you're a defensive tackle. Then you're a right. It was just, they had him bumping up and down. But again, for a guy like, and that's why I say for a guy like Crawford, it's easier. I think that's easier to do because he's already hovering around the 300. He's 290, 295, 300. Whereas somebody that's 335, asking him to lose that much weight to play a position they've never done is like, I've never heard of that. But then again, Dallas is doing things, boss, on defense that you don't see around the league. like playing a safety at middle linebacker. So
yes. So yeah, it has a, when I look at all the facets of it, when I look at the track record of Dan Quinn and the way that he's the mad scientist, and a lot of times it worked. And he said last year when we was going into the playoffs, he said, man, a lot of this stuff, I have a theory on, but you never know until you put it on the field. So he said with that one statement going into the playoffs that he's a guy that's willing to experiment, So I can kind of see the word, and you're right, it would have been easier, and I feel like some of these experiments backfire because I don't think the transferring the field to a one-tech actually worked. I think it worked for literally one game. I was excited when he bullied that guy for the Washington Commanders, but I never saw it again. I literally saw him really show the speed and power just once. So yeah. I just hopefully this doesn't work in reverse because there's a certain – and see, Dan Quinn is almost like he playing with physics. Like you playing and you're going against physics with some of this stuff. You saying, in my opinion, and I'm just being honest, I do believe that these small linebackers can work, but I don't think they can take the pounding game in and game out. Like it's only so many times. I might have courage for about 3 games to take on them guards if they go to the second level. But once they really get their paws on me for real and pancake me into that dirt, it's going to change my psyche, bro. So, it just is. And I think that's why we saw the sting go out of Curse. I'm just being honest. I think we eventually go see the sting go out of some of these guys that we envision as being able to be hybrid. I think, and I've been hearing this a lot lately, but it's starting to make sense that Dan Quinn is starting to get too cute.
Well, he's definitely starting to get too cute, but I'll push it one further. without trying to start any controversy here. Stubborn, I'll use that word. I falling out of favor. I'm not trying to start no problems. I'm trying to be as PC as possible. But they not feeling old boy right now, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that happens. When, and I think this is not something that is out of the ordinary. When things aren't going the way the players in the locker room want it to go, they tend to feel some type of way. It's happening in Philly right now, right? We just won and we're 11 and whatever, but I'm not happy with the way we're playing. Again, right. To be PC, those guys in that locker room are not happy with the way things are happening right now, and they have ideas. They have things that they'd like to see changed, but that's not happening, and these boys are frustrated.
Yeah. Well, man, I'm gonna be courteous, man. I know you got other callers.
Hey, appreciate it, boss.
When Patrick came on, it kind of sparked me. So hopefully, man, we moved in a direction of possibly what it could be.
Keep the conversation going, boss. That's Boss Cowboys. Boss Cowboys Sports everywhere, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Check him out, man. Shouts out to you, bro.
All right, G.
It is interesting. It's an interesting conversation, that I hope we continue, right? So we can get an answer. I don't know if anybody's going to ask the question at the podium, no offense to Clarence Hill for words are. No offense to the beat writers. I don't even know if they even notice this conversation. But if we continue to have it, it'll eventually get to them, and then they'll eventually ask the question at the podium. So, yeah, I want to know what's up with that. Professor, hold on, Scott. We need to know more. So I'm not trying to start nothing, Don't start. No, it won't be no. But it is a surprise if I were to say something like that, which I am saying something like that. There is a frustration in the locker room. I've mentioned this last year before. I've mentioned it earlier in the season. There is a frustration with those guys. When you don't win, there's going to be frustration, right? But when players feel like they can be put in better position to win, you just hope that frustration doesn't spill over publicly in the sense of, not like this, I ain't nobody, but we're on Twitter and we're saying things, and they don't seem like they'll do anything like that, right? They're going to go out there and do what they're asked, but Brother L said, according to my sources. You know I don't like saying stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, we all have, when I say we all, most of us have people we know down there and we talk to. And I don't like to put anybody on the spot like that. But yeah, there's a frustration in there. Will that change over the next couple of weeks? We'll see. We know that he is a stubborn guy that won't, change up much of what he does. We just got to go out there and execute it. But I would not be shocked if he doesn't pass on a head coach job if he gets offered one this year. Wouldn't shock me. Now I'll just leave it at that until we get to the end of the season. We're not about to have off-season talk. All right, man. We got VIP and Jack. What's good, VIP? I should put VIP and Jack on the phone at the same time.
Come on. Well, we can have a party line. Let's pop this off.
Yeah, what's up with you,
It's VIP. Sky, what's good, Playboy? Look, man, I'm listening to what you're talking about, and I'm digesting what these callers are saying, but the only thing it's hard to sit in my belly is nobody's being held accountable. That's the problem. Like, I know we could dance around all this. We have $1 billion owner and $1 billion GM that's not held accountable. So we could talk this talk 1,000 times. You can get to the podium and squeeze one of your people at the press and be like, yo, ask this question. Yo, end of the day, we have one person making the rules and one person answering to the rules. So if Jerry's checking Jerry, come on, Sky. Like, hey, we know.
Yeah, we know. We definitely know VIP, and I always tell y'all this. In the offseason, if things don't go our way during the postseason, that's definitely the A1 topic of conversation, right? Because now we have to go see what did your front office do to help you be put in a certain situation, right? Not just in March, April, May, but also in September through January. What did they do? So we'll 100%. But we still got opportunity ahead of us. These boys still got to go out there. It's still a talented group. They got to go out there, win Sunday or Saturday, go into this postseason with some momentum. And winning the following week and rattle off some victories so that we can say we can have more confidence in our front office. So if not, then VIP, we will 100% be having this conversation in detail as we normally do every offseason.
And hopefully we're not having that conversation because I see what the caller is saying about. Well, I mean, everybody's got now DQ is on the snipers list, but you got to understand, like, DQ is handicapped as well. He's making those calls. Like, in some ways that you could put these players in better position where, bro, I don't give a damn if you put in – go back to that goddamn the Bears line where they had 5-man fronts, put 11 in the middle, and you play off of that, bro. You can't put 11 on the DN.
Let me show y'all something.
And you know what I mean? Sky, it just don't make sense to me, man. Make it make sense, Sky.
It's tough, bro. It's tough to make that portion of it make sense. But you ain't lying about 11. I want to show this play. Now this is cherry picking, but I don't care. I want to show this play when we get off the horn here. But yeah, man, I'll say this though. I'll push back a little bit. I do think that Dan Quinn and the defensive coordinators in general, they seem to have a little bit more juice and leeway than the offensive side of the ball, historically speaking. It feels that way to me, at least.
Yeah, I agree with that too. But at the end of the day, what did I say? Who's making decisions and who's being held accountable for these decisions? This is the reason why Jimmy is just now getting in his goddamn ring of fame, because $1 billion owner can't get over his $1 billion ego.
Yeah.
So that's all. If he could have got over his $1 billion ego, we could have went on a 4 or 5 stretch run back with Jimmy. But he couldn't even get over it then. So what makes you think he's going to get over it now, bro? Like, it's just, like, let's not fool ourselves when it comes to this ownership. And I know we can't talk about him because he is G.O.D. of the Cowboys. But, bro, everybody has to be held accountable end of the day. I'm VIP. If I walk outside my block and I do something crazy, I'm going to be held accountable. Everybody has to be held accountable.
100%. And trust and believe me, if Dallas doesn't get it done, and VIP, I know you're a little bit newer to this to the show. If Dallas does not get it done, we hold them accountable here, brother. Trust and believe me.
And that's why I respect you, because you don't have to dance around these boundaries, because you're not hampered by the 3-letter network. You can speak your piece, and that's why I have so much love for what you do, B, and that's why you got a sniper like VIP out here. Let a Slurpee come on this line and say something reckless, and I'm on your ass. All right? It's my son's birthday. I ain't playing no games today. I got to go. I love you, Sky. If a Slurpee's around, I'm on your ass. I ain't a killer, but don't push me.
VIP, ladies and gentlemen. It's his son's birthday, B. Happy birthday to your son, VIP. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'll see you in the new year, Playboy.
Yes, sir. Happy New Year, fam. VIP, ladies and gentlemen. Trying to pull up this play because he brought up. Let's see if I can do it. Yep. Let me know if y'all can see it. Yeah, y'all can see it. So, all right, y'all can call me. Well, Sky, this is cherry picking this one play. Yep, it's one play. For those who can't see, wow. Let me. That just look good, don't it? Like Micah in the middle right there, looking like an actual linebacker. Don't that look menacing? Hold on real quick, because football is still football at the end of the day. And I know when you lined up and you looked over there and it was, let me look at y'all real quick. Let me talk to y'all real quick before I go ahead and run this damn play. If you line up and you look across, you are a running back. You are a quarterback, because the psychological part of football doesn't get talked about enough. And I see Ray Lewis, Mike Singletary, Patrick Willis, Luke Kuechly. I'm just naming these middle linebackers. Today's game, Fred Warner, Roquan Smith, right? Brian Urlacher, Navarro Bowmans, Derek Brooks. You see that? There's a different mentality in your head. If I look over and I see J-Ron Curse, Damone Clark, Marquise Bell, I'm thinking food. It's no different than any other position. Anyway, just think that looks good. So I'll let the play run, man. Y'all tell me what y'all see. By his motherfucking self, by the way. The difference between 33-11 and these other dudes. Man, get off of me, bro. Split the double. Come here. Not the only time that happened either. There was another play where he splits another double team and makes a play either at or behind the line of scrimmage. And I get it, man. We devalue whatever the position. I always say this, especially during draft time. Is that guy a playmaker? Is that guy a dude? If he's a playmaker, I don't give a damn what position he played regarding the defense, right? The linebacker. He can't play linebacker. Can I draft the off-ball linebacker? All right, baloney. That's stupid. If the dude can ball and make plays at the position, then damn it, you take him. Now, obviously, we've seen that Micah can be a fantastic pass rusher. But guess what he did a couple plays later? Lined his ass up on the line of scrimmage. Rushed the passer and forced an incompletion. Why can't he do that more often? There's a different mentality to the game when you look out there and you see number 11 in a linebacker stance staring right at you. Because you truly don't know. He may now bump up and now he might rush. And when he's one-on-one with that center, it's curtains. I haven't seen a center one-on-one block Micah Parsons on a true pass blocking opportunity. Not, screen, throw it out to the flat. Like true, I'm dropping back. I need at least 2.5 seconds. Nobody's been able to do it. I'm gonna try to find another one. Jack, what's good with you, man?
Yeah. How you doing, brother?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Got you loud and clear, man.
All right. I just wanted to make sure we ain't had no technical difficulties. You know what I'm talking about?
No, sir.
How you feeling today? You good? You been in the garden this morning?
I ain't been in the garden yet, but I'm feeling good, though.
Already. Now, with all the courtesies out the way, with all due damn disrespect, I definitely understand and I see Michael Parsons in the middle. Now, one of your previous callers had called and he was talking about Big Boss Cowboys. He was talking about Dan Quinn and his scientific method. Now, sometimes when you test a hypothesis, not all your tests, come to what you eventually want. So you got to keep adding, you got to take away, you got to add just until you get to where you need. I think some of these games have proven, whether they're stubborn or not, are going to change. It has forced us to change. That's maybe because lack of minerals and materials that we have, such as linebacker. We've tried to put him in a spot where he's effective, but maybe not getting the full potential out of the material that we use. So now we got to take that out, and then we got to add it in with a different chemical. So I think Michael Parsons being that middle linebacker is that different chemical, and it's a great equalizer for the run game. You know what I'm saying? Like I was looking at this and I was watching a Timothy's game yesterday, and I was just looking at certain things and how it affected the game.
Yeah.
And that would be a great equalizer. You can sit Marquise Bell on the edges and sit Damone on the edges, and they'll be efficient there. They won't be like Bot said, they won't die. They'll survive because they know how to get away from blocks. I've seen them get away from blocks. Just if direct contact, shit is a problem. But when you add Michael right there, now they don't know which way to run, and if you run at him, he's gonna get to the line before your double team can get there, or before your center or guard get to the second level. He can still defeat them. And also that pressure up the pipe, Black. That pressure up the pipe, in the history of I'll be 40 next month. So at the end of that, I ain't never seen nobody pressure the quarterback up the middle that same.
Yeah, no. You won't. You won't see anybody. I mean, maybe until there's another Micah. But Micah said something the other day, and you can call it arrogant, but it's the truth. He said, this is no disrespect to the other elite pass rushers, but I'm different.
Yep.
Not that I'm saying I'm the greatest or whatever. It's just that I'm literally different than Myles Garrett. I'm different than TJ. I'm different than Nick. These guys are stationary type of defensive ends that are amazing Hall of Fame type players at their spots. I am as well, but I'm built different. They might run a 4.5. I run a 4.3. And I literally have a 4.3 get off. It's not just like, you ran 40-yard dash. Nah, his quickness is so devastating that you can't say, he wouldn't have got there. The dude is a unique weapon in the league. Real. It's just real.
And that shit is real. Like when he went, even when I see him come off the edge, you see I'm calm there. I've been in the dark. You know what I'm talking about? I seen him come off the edge, and he was at the tackle's back foot before he could even finish his kick step. I'm like, damn, that boy, he got something. So I think the evolution of the games, that the result of the games that we played has now caused this. The need for invention has come from necessity. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's what we're doing now. That's where we're at now. And I think going forward, if we implement that into the game, that shit gonna be devastating to so many teams.
And maybe that might be the case, Jack. I'm gonna show another play where Micah, played off ball as a true linebacker and how it impacted the game.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, bro, appreciate the call. You coming through later on Vacha Show?
Absolutely.
My God.
And with all due disrespect, it's always a pleasure and an honor. And if ain't nobody got you, Jack got you. And we shooting out the gym.
Salute, Jack. Appreciate you, big dog. All right, I found the other one too. I mean, this dude's an alien, man. Oh, come on back. This dude's an alien. One more for the home team. Man. Once again, I mean, just look at that. Don't that look crazy, man? I don't know, man. Just football. That just looked like football right there, a football middle linebacker. Watch what he does to split it. Look at the vigor, the tenacity. Get off of me. You tell me that ain't as valuable? Let me calm down. Let me calm back now. Because, I mean, look at that play. That's what you want your middle linebacker to get off of me. With one hand. Diagnose the play, get downhill, get off of me. Tackle behind line of scrimmage. And then what? The next play, if I'm not mistaken, Micah goes out there and he rushes the passer. He rushes the passer at defense end. I got it on my other thing. And this is what he does. He pushes the left tackle into Tua's lap, and Tua throws an inaccurate pass on an out, and you get off the ball. What's so bad about that? What's so bad about saying, hey, Micah, go do this, and then we're going to send you to rush the pass? Game script can obviously dictate that as well. But I'll leave it at that, man. I just wanted to show y'all that. There was a couple plays here. He played off ball, and he was fantastic for those who says he can't play off ball. Like, show a little ass down. All right, man. I don't want to keep beating the dead horse. Willie T said it's better than him setting the edge. 100%. I'm all the way with Okoye on that one, where he said, why would you have him setting the edge? That makes no sense to me. Let somebody else set the edge. Let Micah run, hit, talk shit. Well, Sky, he's not a good cover guy. Look, I know he ain't done it in a couple years, but if you go back and look at year one, he was making some plays in coverage. Now, obviously, like I said about the linebacker, he can't be 50-50 like he was in year one, because he's been doing defensive line things he's been training far too much in that way. You'd have to slow roll it probably out there. But if you would have did that at the beginning, earlier in the season, maybe by this time we'd be fine. Or if you'd at least did it when LVE went down, maybe we'd be fine. But I'm not saying the Cowboys season's over because he's not there. But we are seeing the problems we have when Damone Clark is being asked to be a middle linebacker, when J-Ron Kearse is being asked to go play middle linebacker, when Marquise Bell is being asked to play middle linebacker. None of these dudes are middle linebackers. I'm not saying that Clark can't be, let me and Professor O talk about this, can't be your LB2, LB3, outside linebacker will type. Allow him to see it run and go. Doesn't have to deal with some, the trash like a middle linebacker would. But playing that position, you can't tell me having a guy that can solidify the middle of the field doesn't help you. And then when it's time to go get the pass, you can go get it. My man had 13 sacks playing half and half. It's crazy. I digress. Let's get to some super chats, man. Short week, man. It went by fast, too. It's not over yet. We got a special guest tomorrow. Okoye's coming through, so make sure y'all come back here tomorrow, and we'll be discussing this Lions-Cowboys matchup and even more. Y'all know how Okoye do with the film, so Don't worry about that.
Super chat.
Anime Dolph fan. Drop 10. Appreciate you, man. He said, love your shit here and with Vach. We got the win, but I'm looking for, this is a Dolphin fan. We got the win, but I'm looking forward to seeing what y'all do in the playoffs. Ford is an MVP level quarterback, and y'all's team is solid if you don't shoot yourselves in the foot. Appreciate you, Anime Dolphin fan. And I would argue, outside of rinky dink Eagle fans, most fans like this respect the quarterback like you did, right? I feel like most fans are that way. And the team in general. I agree, man. We're a good team. We don't shoot ourselves in the foot. We definitely have a shot. 100%. You can't shoot yourselves in the foot on the road. We're not going to play no home games probably, so you definitely can't shoot yourself in the foot on the road. Just saw G-Dub drop one.
Super chat.
Drop 5, I'm sorry. And he said, I would have never thought that Quinn's response to what happened to his defense in Buffalo would be to get smaller. I'm sorry. Yeah. Interesting because Miami, they run the ball, but because of the speed, I can get why at some points you do have to kind of match their speed. But end of the day, football is football, right? You get into first downs, teams are going to want to run the ball. But seeing, and I think the drives I showed y'all, look, I'm going to go into the roundup here, but I'm not breaking down a roundup. I just wanted to show y'all this. This, seeing stuff like this, 21 personnel, and you got 6 DBs, right? Seeing, this 12 personnel, they come out heavy, and you go 6 DBs with Curse at middle linebacker. Like, there's no excuse for that. And in this series, while in totality the Cowboys didn't do bad, except really this series and the end of the game, they ran the ball on you. These are all plays from those 2 plays, I should say, or from this series. And I think they had like 20 plus yards on these 2 plays, 15-yard gain and 12-yard gain. Or actually, the 11 personnel was a 12-yard gain. But they went down and got points here. This cannot be your response to 12, man. I get it is a passing league, but you need to get backers. And when I say backers, I don't mean Marquise Bell. And there's no disrespect to J-Ron and to Wilson. But think about this for a second, just going back to just natural football instincts, right? As a safety, you're for real. Your first instinct is backwards. Not saying that's what they did here, but it just goes against what you've been trained to do for 10, 15, 20, however long you've been playing the game. Especially if you're free, especially if you've got assignments to play back. Your first instinct isn't to come downhill. What do we always talk about on here when I talk about play action? I do not care how amazing of a linebacker you are. You're always susceptible to play action, no matter how bad your team is running, because your first instinct is to go forward. You want to look at, just go look at the Lions. I promise y'all. Go watch the Lions. Go watch Anzalone and Malcolm Rodriguez and Jack Campbell. You want to know why it's hard to run on these boys? They don't give a damn about anything but I'm stopping the run. I'm blowing up this guard. I'm clogging this lane. I'm shooting the gap. You ain't running on me. Right? Not happening. All of them do it. Normally, you might see a team that got like 2 of them or 1 or something. All of them do it. Go look at the difference between how they attack and how the Cowboys attack. And I wonder if this is how they're coached. Somebody had brought this up before with the linebackers coach. And I go back to thinking about what LVE said and how LVE plays. And go and look at Damone Clark's college film and how Damone Clark plays now. It's very passive. It's very just wait, and then shimmy. It's hardly what you saw Micah Parsons do. I don't know if I got to play up here anymore. But just the difference. Micah's not waiting around. He's shooting. He's diagnosing. I see it, and I'm going. I'm making a play. Then you got LVE who say, oh, wait now, Micah. Sometimes you just got to let it come to you. Just let it come to you, young fella. It looked like our whole entire second unit is just letting it come to them, doesn't it? Sometimes you got to go get the ball, man. Go see ball, hit ball. Go get it. Rally. And there was no better example than the end of the Miami game where they said, we just going to run it. And you can't do nothing about it. Appreciate you, Sully. He dropped
Super chat.
He dropped 2 and said, I see why he's laid off the ball. That effort is malnourished. Yeah, I would argue, losing weight doesn't necessarily affect your get off. Like you can be go watch Hankins. You can be 335, 340, 350, whatever, and still have an effective get off. Mazi that's not his game right now. He needs to develop that get off. And I don't know that you can develop that in season. Aaron dropped 5. Appreciate you, Aaron.
Super chat.
Says, nah, Sky, they won't cut their precious 2023 draft class to get a linebacker on the roster. Yeah, I mean, I get not cutting nobody from your 2023 draft class, but I mean, I guess you can cut Brooks and them. I like what I've seen from Brooks. I guess you can cut Deuce. I don't think I would cut anybody from my draft class though for Evans. I'm okay with that, but there was some other let's go. It ain't 2023, 2022, but I mean, what are we doing? We know what Let's Go is. He's a dude who's maybe they're happy with his strength, but he got shoulder issues. Let's be honest. He's tissue paper. If he was anything, if he had shown anything, Chuma Edoga wouldn't have been your swing tackle to start off. Wouldn't have been. And then Sully dropped another 2.
Super chat.
He said he was smoking, wondering why he wasn't playing. Oh, talking about Evans. Strange stuff going on down there at the Star, but I'm pretty sure we'll get a little bit more answers from it. They asked Coach about it, I think, prior to the arrest thing coming out. And Coach was like, this is something we've been having a discussion about. And I believe that because Matt Waletzko returning. But one thing I didn't ask Pat about, and he just kind of talked about it in general, was, well, okay, Matt Waletzko's returning, but how dire is it to have him out there? I get Chuma Edoga had the 2 glitches, 100%. I totally get that. Matt Waletzko at left tackle. Tyler Smith. 1 linebacker on the team. 2. I think I'll take Tyler Smith if I need to play left tackle because I'm scared of Chuma. Put Chuma at guard. I'm going to keep my linebacker depth because we ain't got no linebackers. Matt Waletzko, you can stay on IR, stay into the weight room, get your peanut butter, get to the offseason, see if you got stronger and better, and let's roll. Let's be real here. If we don't believe, or if they don't believe that Chuma Edoga is the answer at left tackle if Tyron Smith is out for a playoff run, who in their right mind believes that Matt Waletzko is the answer? Not I. CeeLo says Sky Clark is different than in college because he see what happened to LVE. He says his injuries had neck injury, trying to get paid before you're hit. Trying to get paid before you're hit him, not trying to be a missile. I mean, that's more of a conspiratorial thing in my opinion. I do think running around with LVE affects him because he said it in the offseason. He said, I've been sticking to LVE like glue, right? Like I've been on his hip soaking up the game from LVE. Well, what happens when you soak up a game from somebody that plays the way they play? You're going to kind of play the way they play. You're going to play the way they play. I'd argue it's not his neck injury that he plays that way. I'd argue it's because he's playing like LVE. LVE had multiple of these damn neck injuries, Clark been healthy. He just looks completely different attacking downhill than he did in college. And I believe, this is just my opinion, it's because he's been taught by a guy that doesn't attack downhill. That's just my belief. Still them boys. Appreciate you. He dropped a couple.
Super chat.
He said we might owe Sam an apology for how he reacted to his free me tweet. Why is that, Still them boys? I still argue you don't need to be on no damn social media talking about free me. But Sam Williams didn't play a lot last week. I think he only got like seven snaps. In fact, as somebody asked earlier, where he's been at. Since the Washington game, he had 34 snaps in Washington. Seattle 19, Philly 15, Buffalo 11, Miami 7. So it's just been boom, 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 going downhill. Buffalo game had the penalty. Not good. But I don't think that warrants you only playing him 7 times in this game. Yeah, Sam second on the team in penalties. Yeah, you cannot be a penalty merchant. No. Don't remind me of that, Willie T. Laurel Blizzard says we clearly don't have a linebackers coach. That could be that too. That could be another thing, right? Like, now we had a linebacker coach in George Edwards, and the backers were still playing the way they were playing, But I go look at, again, just the Lions, because I just studied them. I have to believe they're being coached that way, because there's no way all 3 of your guys moving on a string play that aggressively downhill like that without being coached that way. Jack Campbell, for as much as high as we were on Jack, if you go back and look at my study on him, or when me and Foots were talking about him, I kept saying, well, Jack is not a guy that's going to just dump you. He'll stick his nose in there, right? But he's a more of a diagnosed type guy, and then when he sees it, he hits it and he goes. But now you go look at Jack Campbell in Detroit. Jack Campbell getting downhill right now as he's diagnosed. He's more physical. I mean, it was physical, I thought, but he's more physical. That has to be coaching. I think so. Well, Cowboys Nation, I'll wrap it up. I'm kind of just ongoing now here. Back live later on with Voch Lombardi on the Voch Lombardi live show. We're going to be talking about this Detroit Lions Cowboys matchup some more. My guy, Mauricio Rodriguez, will be back on here later tonight for the final show of the week for prime time. We'll get one more super chat here in a second. And then tomorrow, big show tomorrow. Normally, Fridays, we'll do something like reviewing the whole week, or we'll do some mailbag questions. But we got Okoye on, man. So we'll get some Ask Okoye questions later on in the show, but we're going to be breaking down this game even further, because then we play Saturday. On the way out.
Super chat.
Damn, that was fast. There you go. B-Bird dropped 2, said, take out the glitches. How did Chuma play? It's okay. But I can't take out the glitches. That's the problem. Can't take them out, man. But it was okay. Still one tyrant in there. With that said,
Push the goddamn button.
Press the button. I'll see y'all later about 3:15-ish. Voch Lombardi live. Be a good show. Make sure y'all support my guy Mo later on. A-to-Z prime time. Then tomorrow, come on back. We out here. Love y'all. Peace.